Buenas noches, 48 hours almost into the illegal U.S. Invasion, bombing, blockade, and kidnapping of the rightful leadership of the Bolivarian Revolution in Venezuela. I just want to share a few observations on the U.S. left, on the Western left, and I think without necessarily pointing the finger, some of the mistakes that we have made as a collective left, things to be aware of, whether it's on social media or in conversations with coworkers or conversations on picket lines. It's interesting how many people who describe themselves as leftists, and I've always identified as an anti-imperialist, as a leftist, no need to critique the right wing. We know that ideologically they are anti-Venezuela, anti-Bolivarian, anti-imperialist, right? So I'm addressing comrades, friends. It's interesting to me how many leftist groups say the exact same thing as the New York Times or the mainstream corporate, liberal, Democratic Party outlets. What the U.S. did is horrible, and this is illegal, and it violates international law, and they question Trump, but then the second paragraph is always but, and you know what's coming. Nicolas Maduro is the worst human being ever. What gives you the right to speak for 30 million Venezuelans about who Nicolas Maduro is and where Nicolas Maduro, where he comes from, and how much training he's had in the Bolivarian process? He's one of the offsprings of Chavez. And I see, quote unquote, anti-imperialist outlets quoting right-wing papers like The Telegraph doing exactly what the Venezuelan leadership has warned against. Do not spread rumors. Don't talk about Delcy Rodriguez is against Maduro. That's ridiculous. Everything coming from Delcy Rodriguez, including the threats by Trump against her and by Narco Rubio, shows that Delcy Rodriguez, Jorge Rodriguez, Diosdado Cabello, Nicolas Maduro Guerra, the son of Nicolas Maduro, the imperialists, Trump, they're searching for the divisions because they have a big problem. They kidnapped one president, but now they have a vice president who is just as Bolivarian, who is just as revolutionary, who's the daughter of a former political prisoner who was tortured and executed in the jails of the former dictatorship in Venezuela in the 1970s. These are tried and true revolutionaries like Nicolas Maduro, whose mandate comes from Petare, el 23 de enero, and all of the campos and barrios that are across Caracas and in Maracaibo, Anzoátegui, and Bolivar. This is a vast, diverse country. Leftists should do their homework and not mimic the same talking points that the class enemy, that the ideological enemy is throwing at us. And why does this happen? There's so many keyboard quarterbacks who think somehow they can tell the Venezuelan people, after 27 years of construyendo patria, building a Bolivarian homeland, somehow from our perches of privilege, whether it's in London, Boston, or San Francisco, or Paris, that we would have a way to contextualize all of the challenges, that this revolutionary leadership has faced. They've tried to kill Nicolas Maduro how many times? And if your main enemy, whether it's Dixiecrat, Republican, is trying to assassinate and descabezar, cut off the head of this leadership, that begs a deeper class analysis. Where does this leadership come from? What is their ideology? How are they ideologically steeled? So shame on all of these, keyboard quarterbacks who think they know better than the masses of Venezuela. Trump and his administration have gotten themselves into a huge quagmire because the masses of people across Venezuela, no matter how many years of economic warfare and sanctions and terrorist U.S. attacks on their electric grid, the U.S. has done everything to dismantle the oil industry. And the individuals that I've mentioned are the key leadership to centralize an entire revolutionary process across a vast country, which is 1.5 times as big as Texas. And in their worst, most challenging moments, we're going to sit here and lecture them on who their president should be. So Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, will be the president now for the next 30 days, according to the Constitution, until there can be another popular election, given that the Democratic president cannot exercise his functions according to the Constitution. And what did Trump say today, trying to walk back his super sloppy, awkward, imperialist colonial formulation that will run Venezuela? Now Marco Rubio is trying to walk all that back. And what did they say? They say, if Delcy Rodriguez doesn't do what we say, they threatened her. They threatened to assassinate her. And y'all are spreading rumors about Delcy Rodriguez, who you never even heard of 48 hours ago. So, you know, anyone who's within an organization, an actual functioning revolutionary organization, a party, that's why you have centralism, that's why you have discipline, so that people don't pop off at the mouth and actually do the work of the former ruling class of Venezuela that's drooling in Miami, that's drooling in Manhattan, that's drooling to reinvade and recolonize, along with, of course, their imperial masters, one of the richest countries in the world.